My toddler squeezed a bottle of powdered creamer until it exploded in her face. Now creamer is continuously draining out of her nose. When I was 11 I found a P-word VHS in my dad's room. I put it in the VHS player when nobody was home, and watched it while eating blueberry Pop-Tarts. The Pop-Tarts gave me a stomachache and I immediately assumed I was impregnated through the TV by watching P-word stuff. I spent a few weeks trying to figure out how to tell my parents, as well as coming up with baby names and worryingly rubbing my stomach in the shower. I'm male, by the way. My toddler is pissed off RN because I wouldn't let him into the deep freezer. My 2-year-old made Mickey Mouse. Honestly, I can't see a difference. My niece turned 3 today. She asked for a Lion King cake, but specifically the moment where Mufasa dies. Because everyone will be too sad to eat the cake and it will be all for me. When I was a kid I thought banks had unlimited money for people. When I saw someone poor I just thought, why he doesn't get some money in the bank? And thought jobs were just to have fun. Goddamn. My fiancé helped out with the physical education class for a while. Dear principals, I think Miss Williams is a good teacher. She play with us when we go to pee. From Adrian. So when I was like 8 or 9 years old I thought rave was a bad word because my mom heard a movie say it and then I said it and she told me not to say it, so I thought for the longest time rave was a bad word. I personally think that the mom is the stupid one here. When I was a kid I thought the watermarks on ceiling tiles were coffee stains, and that construction workers were very clumsy with their morning coffee. I was a little confused as to why the tiles next to each other would have one stain over both of them and assumed they must lay out the tiles on the ground being installing them, then spill their coffees, and then install them in the same pattern? Because it would match better? I thought way too much about this and still got it so wrong. Oh, it's not the same thing, but when I was about 5 I saw a Milky Way advert where the kid flew into space after taking a bite of one and standing in a Superman position. The next time I had a Milky Way bar I tried it and stood there for 5 minutes straight wondering why I wasn't flying into space. So I can definitely see kids trying this. When I was 13, I still didn't exactly know what virginity meant. So, I asked my friend and said it was a type of pasta, saying it was another name for penne. It was clear he knew, he was just being sarcastic, and me being a gullible kid I believed him. A day later, I innocently asked all my classmates if they liked virginity. Obviously, they said no, so I went, what? Virginity is the most famous type of pasta there is. And everyone started laughing in my face while I stood there with utter confusion. Imagine walking into an Italian restaurant and order virginity with white sauce. My cousin's kid was 3 and we went bowling. He won, then this exchange happened. Us, you won. Him, no, I'm 3. No amount of explaining helped him be any less offended with the suggestion he was only 1 year old. When I was a kid, I was walking in the park with my parents. My dad turned to me, pointing at a tree, and asked, "So, what do trees eat?" hoping to teach me about photosynthesis. He expected me to answer, "Sunlight." Instead, I said, "Pigeons. Trees eat pigeons." I told my kids that I've traveled around the sun 43 times, then watched their minds melt as they struggled to picture the same dad who can barely parallel park at the helm of a F-word rocket ship. When I was very young, I cut a small picture of Bugs Bunny because I loved him. I kept it on me and occasionally kissed him because I wanted to marry him. But then I felt guilty since I shouldn't be kissing boys, so I ate it. When I was younger I used to wake up my dad by manually opening his eyes. I used to rip my dad's arm hair out randomly. I used to tear my dad's back hair out when he slept BC I thought I needed it. Me when I'd stick my hands in the freezer and then on his back. My dad wears a CPAP machine that helps him breathe while sleeping and we used to unplug it, death emoji, he'd gasp waking up. I would harmonize with my dad's snoring. I would pretend I was a cat and sleep at the foot of their bed and meow at 3 a.m. until one of them woke up scared. I used to feed my dad yogurt when he was asleep. I used to hold their nose so they couldn't breathe and had to wake up. My dad is kinda bald. I used to rub his head like a lamp on a lad until he wakes up. I had put my 2-year-old daughter to bed one night and started playing some Madden on the PS2. About 10 minutes later, she comes out with her blanket draped over her head like a ghost and sits down next to me, not saying a word. I'm trying not to laugh and just keep playing for a couple minutes. Then I said out loud, "One need to go check on her." She hops up, turns around without looking, and walks face first into the wall, stumbled back a couple steps, lifted the front up to see, and scurried back to bed. I was crying. I was laughing so hard. Lol. When I was a kid I thought having glasses would be cool, so to ensure I would need them for the rest of my life I used to stare into the sun during recess. Now my prescription is R-3.25 liters, -3.50. When my son was 4 he saw a commercial that said brushing alone is not enough to prevent cavities and tooth decay, so he made us start brushing our teeth with him. It's been 3 years. Nobody tell him. I just had a kid lick the desk and say it needs more pepper. Do you have any? Well, do you? No, lol. That's one thing that you didn't expect to need to stock in your classroom. Haha, yeah. 3 years old, I spy with my little eye something that is leafy. Me, is it a leaf? 3 years old, good job Dad. When I was a kid my younger brother came into the room with a pained look on his face and teary eyes. I asked him what happened and he said he sprayed air freshener on his butthole so his farts would smell, but all it did was burn. When I was a kid and my parents first took me to a restaurant, they told me to pick a lobster, but I had no idea I was in a restaurant, so when they brought the cooked lobster I cried so damn loud I thought it was going to be my pet and not my meal. I feel offended. This little kid came up to me and asked me, "Mister, do you have a baby in your tummy?" My daughter, suddenly topless, after I asked her why she wasn't wearing a shirt. I can do the monkey bars because they're slippery. My entire personality comes from the fact that, at a very young age, a person of authority told me that the more books I read, the more free pizza I'd get. When my nephew was about 5 or 6, he rang me to excitedly tell me he lost his first tooth. After discussing the tooth fairy there was a long pause and he inquiringly said, "Auntie, are you dizzy?" I said, "No, why?" And he responded, "Because I'm spinning the phone around." When I was a kid, I used to think that ants were like medics of insects and carry them to hospital or something. My little sister, 4-year, just asked me to be her girlfriend. I was confused. I asked her why. She doesn't tell me, but keep insisting that I should date her. Eventually she told me that because it means that we love each other. It's kinda cute but definitely the wrong idea. When I was 4 or 5 I swore that bird seeds grew birds, thus the name. When my parents asked me to prove it to them, I planted a pile of bird seeds. The next day there were loads of birds where I planted the seeds, showing I was right. I wondered why my parents still objected to this idea after I proved it worked, so I thought they were hiding this secret from me because they were worried I'd grow a massive flock of birds and they'd not be able to tell me what to do. My cousin once bought an expensive doll to gift to her younger sister. However, when my cousin gave it to her younger sister, she refused to play with it because the doll's skin color was black and that it was ugly. To this day, the doll remains unopened and is gathering dust on a shelf. My niece noticed that the homeless person outside M&S wasn't there today like they usually are. She said they probably got rich. So I rewatched Spider-Man 2002 the other day, and there's a part where they go to a Macy Gray concert. Being a child when I first saw that, I got it confused with the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So for much longer than I care to say, I always referred to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade as the Macy Gray Day Parade.